At a glamorous Austin gala, Mark Thompson, a devoted husband and respected genealogist, watches his wife of 20 years, Laura, kiss another man. Instead of rage, he walks away, plotting a calculated unraveling of her secrets. What unfolds is a masterclass in quiet strength, exposing betrayals and rewriting their future, shocking Laura and everyone who underestimated him. The music pulsed through the crowded Austin gala, a lively mix of chatter and clinking glasses filling the air. Mark Thompson, 45, stood near the bar, a glass of bourbon in hand, nodding politely as a colleague rambled about local real estate. Mark, a respected genealogist known for piecing together family histories with surgical precision, was used to these events, smiling through small talk while his mind cataloged details. Tonight, though, his focus drifted, scanning the room for his wife, Laura. 20 years of marriage had honed his instincts, and something felt off. Laura, 43, a sharp marketing VP, had been acting strange for months. Late-night client calls, sudden weekend yoga retreats, her phone always angled just out of sight. Mark had brushed it off. Empty nest adjustments, he told himself. Their daughter, Emma, was finishing her junior year at UT Austin, and their son, Ethan, was coding apps in San Francisco. For the first time in decades, it was just Mark and Laura in their suburban Austin home. But tonight, at their friend's annual gala, hosted by the Clarks, Mark's unease sharpened. He spotted her across the room, slipping through the patio doors. Laura moved with purpose, her steps quick, almost secretive. Mark excused himself mid-conversation, his colleague barely noticing as he set his drink down and followed. The patio was quieter, lit by string lights and the soft hum of a jazz trio. A small group lingered near the edge, but Laura wasn't with them. She stood apart, near a low stone wall, with a man Mark didn't recognize. He was tall, silver streaking his hair, exuding the polished confidence of someone used to closing deals. Ryan Baxter, Mark later learned, a pharmaceutical exec recently transferred to Laura's company. The two stood close, too close. Ryan's hand rested lightly on Laura's back, familiar, practiced. She laughed, her head tilting in a way Mark hadn't seen in years, bright and unguarded. Then, in a moment that felt like a slow-motion crash, she leaned in and kissed him. Not a friendly peck, but deliberate, intimate, the kind of kiss that carried history. Mark froze, his pulse hammering. The bourbon glass trembled in his hand, but he didn't drop it. He didn't shout or charge forward. Instead, he turned, moving silently through the crowd, past the Clarks' cheerful greetings, past the blur of faces and laughter. No one noticed him leave. He slid into his car, the Austin night alive with neon and traffic, and drove. Not home, anywhere but home. The city's lights streaked past as he processed what he'd seen, his mind already shifting from shock to strategy. Mark wasn't the type to break. 20 years preserving other families' legacies, Civil War letters, faded photos, forgotten wills, had taught him to stay calm under pressure. He'd built a reputation in Austin as the genealogist who could uncover truths buried for generations. Now his own life demanded that same precision. Laura's kiss wasn't just a betrayal. It was a signal. The small clues, her guarded phone, her new hobbies, clicked into place like pieces of a client's scattered family tree. He checked into a boutique hotel on the city's edge, a sleek, modern place far from their suburban routine. Alone in the quiet room, Mark opened his laptop and accessed their home security system, a setup he'd installed after a neighbor's break-in 2 years ago. The cameras covered the entrances and main living areas, not the bedrooms, a boundary he'd set for privacy. Now, that choice felt like a cruel irony. The footage loaded, and there it was, Ryan's black Audi in their driveway, time-stamped from weeks ago. Laura letting him in, her smile unguarded, his movements too comfortable for a first visit. Mark's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop. He logged into their joint financial accounts, his fingers steady on the keys. A new account and Laura's name appeared, opened 3 months ago. Small transfers, $500 here, $1,000 there, nothing blatant but a pattern. A safety net, a plan. She was preparing to leave, or at least hedging her bets. Mark leaned back, the weight of it settling in. This wasn't impulse. It was calculation. His phone buzzed. Emma. Dad, you okay? Mom said you left the party early. Her voice carried worry, sharp and perceptive like always. At 21, Emma could read people better than most, a skill she'd honed watching courtroom dramas and debating ethics in her pre-law classes. "I'm fine," Mark said, keeping his tone even. "Just needed some air." "How's the gala?" "Mom's acting weird," Emma replied. "She's glued to some guy from her work. Ryan something." Kept whispering with him on the patio. A pause. "Dad, is everything okay with you too?" Mark hesitated. He wanted to protect Emma, not pull her into this mess. "We're navigating some things," he said carefully. "Focus on your studies, okay? I'll call you tomorrow." After hanging up, Mark dialed Sarah Vega, a divorce attorney known in Austin for her razor-sharp strategies and 90% success rate in high-asset cases. They'd met at a historical society event years ago, bonding over their shared love of uncovering truth. "Sarah, I need a consult," he said when she answered. Discreet. "Urgent." "Name the time," she replied, her voice all business. They set a meeting for the next morning. Mark spent the night reviewing more footage, documenting timestamps, and cross-referencing bank transactions. By dawn, he had a timeline. Ryan's visits, Laura's secret account, her dismissive comments about Mark caught on audio when she thought he was out of town. "He's too busy with his old photos to notice," she'd said to Ryan, laughing in their kitchen. The words stung, but they also fueled him. Laura had underestimated him, assuming his quiet diligence was weakness. She was about to learn otherwise. The next morning, at a quiet downtown coffee shop, Mark slid a folder across the table to Sarah. "This is what I got so far," he said. "Screenshots, bank records, audio transcripts. I don't want a war. I want protection for my business, my kids, my future." Sarah skimmed the evidence, her eyes narrowing. "This is impressive, Mark. Most clients come with tears. You brought a case." She leaned forward. "What's your goal?" "Clarity," he said. "She thinks she's writing the story. I'm rewriting the ending." Sarah nodded. "First, we secure your assets. Two-factor authentication on all joint accounts. Call it a security upgrade. Then we build the case for divorce, clean and fair. No drama, just facts." Mark left the meeting with a plan forming, not fueled by rage, but by purpose. Laura's betrayal had cracked open his life, but it also revealed his strength. He wasn't the passive husband she'd dismissed. He was a man who'd spent decades uncovering hidden truths, and now he'd turned that skill on his own story. As he drove back to the hotel, his phone buzzed again. Ethan this time, his voice tense. "Dad, Emma told me Mom's acting off. Said you left the gala without saying goodbye. What's going on?" Mark kept his voice steady. "I'm sorting some things out, Ethan. Come home this weekend if you can. I think you and Emma should be around." "For what?" Ethan pressed, his coder's mind sniffing out inconsistencies. "Just trust me," Mark said. "I'll explain soon." He hung up, staring at the Austin skyline. Laura was spinning her narrative, but Mark held the evidence. The gala kiss was just the spark. What came next would burn through her lies, exposing the truth to everyone who mattered. Mark Thompson sat in his hotel room, the glow of his laptop casting sharp shadows. The Austin skyline glittered beyond the window, but his focus was on the home security footage looping on his screen. Laura and Ryan Baxter, moving through Mark's home with the ease of routine. Ryan pouring himself a drink, Laura laughing at his side. The timestamp stretched back months, each clip a shard of betrayal. Mark's hand stayed steady as he saved the files to a secure drive, his genealogist's precision now weaponized for his own survival. He'd already locked down their joint accounts with two-factor authentication, a move framed as a security precaution to their bank. Laura wouldn't notice yet. Small transfers to her secret account had been her strategy, careful not to raise alarms. But Mark saw the pattern. $700 here, $1,200 there, funneled into an account she'd opened without his knowledge. A safety net for a life she planned without him. The discovery didn't break him. It clarified his next steps. His phone buzzed, Emma again. "Dad, Mom's been texting me nonstop," she said, her voice tight with suspicion. "She says you're overwhelmed with work and need space." "That's not true, is it?" At 21, Emma's pre-law instincts sniffed out lies like a bloodhound. Mark paused, choosing his words carefully. He didn't want to drag his kids into the mess, but he couldn't lie either. "I'm handling some things, Em," he said. "Come home this weekend. Bring Ethan if he can make it. We'll talk then." Emma hesitated, then agreed, her silence heavy with unspoken questions. Mark's next call was to his financial advisor, Greg Patel, who'd managed their investments for a decade. Over a discreet lunch at a diner outside Austin, Mark laid out his request. I need a full picture of our assets, retirement, savings, my business accounts. Everything. Greg raised an eyebrow, but nodded. You suspect something? He asked, cutting straight to it. Mark didn't blink. I need to know where I stand. No assumptions. By afternoon, Greg sent a detailed report. The numbers confirmed Laura's moves. Small, consistent withdrawals to her private account, masked as business expenses. Mark forwarded the report to Sarah Vega, his divorce attorney. Her reply was immediate. This strengthens your position. We'll draft a financial protection plan by tomorrow. Mark felt a flicker of relief. Not at the betrayal, but at the control he was reclaiming. That evening, he drove to a quiet street near his home, parking just out of sight. At 7:15 p.m., Ryan's black Audi rolled into the driveway. The security feed, accessed via Mark's phone, showed Laura greeting him at the door, her movements relaxed, familiar. They moved to the kitchen, Ryan's hand grazing her arm as she poured wine. The audio caught Laura's voice, light and cutting. Mark's probably buried in his archives, oblivious as always. Ryan chuckled. You sure he doesn't suspect anything? Laura's reply was sharp. He's too busy playing historian to notice his own life. The word stung, but Mark didn't flinch. He recorded the clip, adding it to his growing dossier. Laura's dismissal of his work, his passion for preserving family legacies, only sharpened his resolve. She'd mistaken his quiet diligence for weakness. But Mark had spent years uncovering truths hidden in dusty records. This was no different. He met Sarah the next morning at her downtown office. She reviewed the new evidence, security footage, audio clips, bank records, with a nod of approval. You're building an airtight case, she said, but we need to control the narrative. Laura's already spinning her story to your kids and friends. Mark leaned forward. She's telling Emma, I'm having a breakdown. Probably prepping the same for Ethan. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Classic deflection. We counter with facts, not emotions. I'll prepare a preliminary divorce filing, focusing on financial transparency and your contributions to the marriage. We don't accuse yet, just lay the groundwork. Mark agreed, his mind already on the next move. I want the kids to know enough to see through her lies, but not so much they're caught in the crossfire. That afternoon, Ethan called from San Francisco. Dad, I'm flying in tomorrow. Emma's freaking out. Says Mom's acting like you're the problem. What's going on? Mark kept his voice steady. Just be here, Ethan. You and Emma deserve the truth, but I need you to see it for yourselves. Ethan, ever the coder, pressed for details, but Mark deflected. Trust me for now. We'll sort it out this weekend. Mark spent the next day digging deeper. He cross-referenced Ryan's LinkedIn profile with Laura's company directory, confirming Ryan's recent transfer to her firm. A quick search of public records revealed Ryan's history. A string of short-term postings across the country. A reputation for charm, but no long-term ties. Mark noted it all, building a profile as meticulously as he would for a client's ancestor. By Friday, the stage was set. Emma arrived home first, her car pulling into the driveway as Mark watched by the security feed. Laura greeted her with a hug, her voice overly warm. I'm so glad you're here, sweetie. Your dad's just going through something. Emma's response was curt. Yeah, he said to come home. So here I am. Mark smiled faintly. His daughter's skepticism was a point of pride. Ethan landed that evening, his rental car joining Emma's in the driveway. Mark didn't intrude yet, letting Laura's narrative unfold. The security audio captured her in the living room, spinning her story to the kids. Your father's been distant for years, buried in his work. I've tried to keep things together. Emma's voice cut in. Mom, you've been weird too. Always on your phone, disappearing from meetings. What's really going on? Mark's phone pinged with a text from his friend Lisa Clark, co-host of the gala. Mark, Laura's telling people you're having a midlife crisis. Said you've been controlling, monitoring her. I don't buy it, but heads up. Mark replied, Thanks, Lisa. Truth's coming out soon. He didn't elaborate. Lisa's loyalty was a crack in Laura's facade, one Mark would widen. That night, he finalized his plan. A courier would deliver a package to Laura tomorrow. Printouts of Ryan's car in their driveway, her secret bank statements, her own words mocking Mark. No accusations, just evidence. Let her scramble to explain. Mark wasn't aiming to destroy her, just to strip away the lies she'd built around him. He leaned back, the Austin skyline a quiet backdrop to his thoughts. Laura thought she held the upper hand, but Mark was rewriting the rules. The storm was coming, and he was ready. Mark Thompson sat in his hotel room, the courier package ready to go. Inside were printouts of damning evidence. Security footage timestamps of Ryan Baxter's Audi in their driveway, Laura's secret bank account statements, and audio clips of her mocking Mark's trust. A single handwritten note sat on top. I'm not angry. I'm just seeing clearly. No threats, no demands, just truth, sharp and undeniable. Mark scheduled the delivery for noon, when Laura would be home with Emma and Ethan. The timing was deliberate. He wanted her to face the evidence with their kids nearby, her audience of choice now her undoing. He checked his phone. A text from Sarah Vega, his divorce attorney. Preliminary filing is ready. Financial protections in place. Ready to proceed? Mark replied, send the package first. Then we move. Sarah's response was a thumbs-up emoji, her confidence mirroring his own. Mark had spent years piecing together family histories. Now, he was dismantling his own with the same precision, ensuring every move was calculated, every fact airtight. At 11:45 a.m., Mark accessed the home security feed from his laptop. Laura was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone, unaware of the storm about to hit. Emma and Ethan sat in the living room, their voices low but tense. Mom's not telling us everything, Emma said, her pre-law instincts sharp. Ethan nodded, his coder's logic kicking in. She's dodging my questions about this Ryan guy. And Dad's too calm for someone having a breakdown. Mark's chest tightened, not from pain but pride. His kids were seeing through Laura's narrative. The courier arrived at 12:03 p.m. Mark watched the feed as Laura answered the door, expecting a routine delivery. She signed for the package, her expression casual, then carried it to the kitchen counter. Emma and Ethan glanced over, curious. Laura opened the envelope, and her hands froze as she pulled out the contents. The security audio caught her sharp intake of breath, then a muttered, no. She sifted through the printouts, Ryan's car, the bank records, her own voice dismissing Mark as oblivious. Her hands shook as she read the note, her face drained of color. Emma stood, crossing to the counter. Mom, what is that? Laura shoved the papers back into the envelope, her voice high-pitched. It's nothing, just work stuff. But Emma, ever perceptive, grabbed the envelope before Laura could stop her. She scanned the contents, her eyes widening. This is about you and that guy from the gala. Ryan. Ethan joined her, skimming the bank statements. You've been moving money? Behind Dad's back? Laura's voice cracked. You don't understand. Your father's been distant, neglectful. Emma cut her off. Don't. These are facts, Mom. Dad's not the one lying. Ethan's jaw tightened. You're cheating on him, and you're trying to make him the bad guy? Laura's eyes darted between them, her carefully spun narrative unraveling. She reached for her phone, dialing Ryan, her movements frantic. Mark watched as the call went to voicemail. Ryan, it seemed, was already pulling back. Mark drove to the house, his timing precise. He entered without knocking, his key turning smoothly in the lock. Laura spun around, the envelope clutched to her chest. Emma and Ethan looked up, their expressions a mix of relief and anger. Dad, Emma said, stepping toward him. Mark raised a hand, his voice calm but firm. I'm here to talk, not fight. He set his briefcase on the counter and pulled out divorce papers, prepared by Sarah. Laura, this is where we're at. No games, no stories. Just the truth. Laura's voice wavered. You're blowing this out of proportion. It was a mistake, a moment. Mark shook his head. Months, Laura. Months of lies, secret accounts, and disrespect. I have the evidence. So do the kids. He slid the papers across the counter. This isn't revenge. It's clarity. Sign, and we move forward fairly. Fight, and it gets messy. Emma's eyes glistened, but she nodded. Ethan crossed his arms, staring at Laura. You owe Dad an explanation. And us. Laura sank into a chair, her defenses crumbling. I didn't mean for her to go this far, she whispered. Ryan was an escape. From routine, from us. Mark didn't soften. You chose escape over honesty. That's on you. He turned to Emma and Ethan. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this, but you deserve to know who's been straight with you. Ethan's voice was cold. Yeah, Dad. We get it now. The room fell silent, the weight of truth settling in. Laura's phone buzzed. Another call from Ryan, this time unanswered. Mark didn't gloat, He didn't need to. The evidence had done the talking. He picked up his briefcase. I'm staying at the hotel until we sort this out. Sarah Vega will handle communication. Kids, I'll call you tonight. He walked out, leaving Laura to face the consequences of her choices, her narrative shattered by the facts he'd laid bare. That evening, Mark got a call from Lisa Clark, the gala co-host. Laura is telling people you're controlling, that you've been spying on her for years. But I saw her with Ryan at the gala. I'm not buying her story. Mark kept his tone neutral. Thanks, Lisa. Just ask yourself what makes sense, knowing me. Lisa paused. You're one of the good ones, Mark. People are starting to see that. Mark hung up, his mind already on the next phase. Laura's allies were wavering, her lies cracking under scrutiny. He texted Sarah. She's seen the package. Kids know. Push forward with the filing. Sarah replied, done. We'll protect your assets and your name. Mark leaned back, the Austin night humming outside. Laura had underestimated him, but the reckoning was here. The truth was his weapon, and he wielded it with precision. Mark Thompson stood outside his Austin home, keys in hand, the morning sun casting long shadows across the driveway. A week had passed since he delivered the courier package to Laura. Screenshots, bank records, and her own damning words exposing her affair with Ryan Baxter. The divorce papers, prepared by his attorney Sarah Vega, sat signed but untouched on Laura's end. Mark wasn't waiting for her to dictate the pace. Today, he was moving back in, reclaiming his space. The house wasn't just a home, it was a battlefield, and he held the high ground. He entered quietly, the door clicking shut behind him. Laura was in the kitchen, her phone idle on the counter, a rare sight. She looked up, startled, her usual composure fraying. Mark, what are you doing here? Her voice carried a mix of defiance and unease. He set his briefcase down, deliberate. I live here, Laura. I'm done staying away. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The weight of his evidence had already shifted the dynamic. Emma and Ethan, home for the weekend, emerged from the living room. Emma's eyes flicked between her parents, her pre-law instinct sharp. Ethan, arms crossed, fixed Laura with a hard stare. Mom, you still haven't explained anything, he said, his coder's logic cutting through her silence. Laura opened her mouth, then closed it, her narrative crumbling under their scrutiny. Mark nodded to his kids. Give us a minute. We'll talk after. They stepped out, leaving Mark and Laura alone. She clutched her phone, as if it could anchor her. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she said, her tone practiced but brittle. Mark slid a copy of the divorce papers across the counter. Sign them, Laura. The terms are fair, half the assets, no claim on my business. Or we go to court, and every clip, every transaction becomes public. Her hands trembled, but she didn't reach for the pen. Mark's phone buzzed, a text from Lisa Clark, their gala host. People are talking, Mark. Laura's saying you've been controlling, but folks aren't buying it. That Ryan guy's gone quiet too. Mark typed back, appreciate it, Lisa. Truth's coming out. He pocketed the phone, turning to Laura. Your story's falling apart. Friends, colleagues, they're asking questions. You can't spin this forever. Laura's voice dropped. I made a mistake, Mark. Ryan was a mistake. Can't we? He cut her off, calm but firm. You made choices for months. Planned, lied, moved money. This isn't a mistake. It's a strategy. He stepped closer, his gaze steady. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to end this cleanly. Laura's eyes darted away, her silence an admission. Later that day, Mark drove downtown to meet Sarah Vega at her office. She reviewed the latest developments, Laura's hesitation, the kids' support, and the shifting social tide. She's losing allies, Sarah said, tapping the divorce filing. We can push for mediation to keep it quick, but if she fights, your evidence is bulletproof. Mark nodded. Mediation first. I want this done without a circus. That evening, Mark met Ryan Baxter face-to-face, not by chance but by design. He'd spotted Ryan's Audi outside a trendy Austin cafe, a place where execs like Ryan networked. Mark entered, spotting Ryan at a corner table, reviewing papers. He pulled out the chair opposite and sat, his presence commanding. Ryan looked up, startled. Mark Thompson, Mark said evenly. We need to talk. Ryan's corporate polish faltered. Look, this is awkward. Whatever Laura told you. Mark raised a hand. She told me nothing. That's the problem. I saw it. Your car, your visits, her lies. I'm not here for a scene. I'm here so you understand what you helped destroy. Ryan shifted, his eyes darting to the exit. Marriages end. People drift apart. Mark leaned forward. Honest people end one relationship before starting another. You didn't. Ryan's jaw tightened. She said you were separated, that you checked out years ago. Mark's smile was thin. Consider her motives. You were played, same as me. Ryan's expression shifted. Embarrassment, not guilt, the kind that stings a man used to control. Mark stood. This divorce is happening. Stay out of it. He walked out, leaving Ryan to stew in the consequences. Back at the house, Mark gathered Emma and Ethan. I owe you clarity, he said, sitting them down. He shared the basics, Laura's affair, her secret account, without the raw details. Emma's voice was tight. She tried to make you the bad guy, Dad. Ethan nodded. She's still texting me, saying you're unstable. But we've seen the footage. Mark exhaled. I'm sorry you're in this. But I'm not hiding the truth from you anymore. By night, Laura's facade cracked further. A call from their mutual friend, Tom Henderson, confirmed it. Laura's spinning stories at the country club, but people are doubting her. That Ryan guy left town. Word is he's in Denver now. Mark thanked him unsurprised. Ryan's type didn't stick around for fallout. Laura's allies were peeling away, her lies exposed by the simple weight of evidence. Mark slept in the guest room, the house both familiar and foreign. His phone pinged with a late text from Sarah. Laura's attorney reached out. They want to negotiate. We're in control. Mark replied, set it up. The tide was turning, not with shouts or fights, but with the quiet force of truth. Laura had underestimated him, but the fallout was hers to face. Mark was already looking ahead, his life no longer defined by her betrayal. Mark Thompson stood on the porch of his new lakeside home outside Austin, the morning sun glinting off the water. A year had passed since he saw Laura kiss Ryan Baxter at the Clark's Gala, a moment that shattered his world but sparked his reinvention. The divorce was finalized, the house sold to a young couple, and Mark's genealogy business was thriving, now offering digital archiving for Texas historical societies. He sipped his coffee, the calm of his new life a stark contrast to the storm he'd weathered. The divorce proceedings had wrapped up cleanly, thanks to Sarah Vega's meticulous strategy. Laura signed the papers after a tense mediation, her leverage gone as Mark's evidence. Security footage, bank records, audio clips left no room for a narrative of his neglect. The settlement split their assets evenly, but Mark's business remained untouched, a testament to his foresight in securing it early. Laura moved to a modest downtown apartment. Her social circle thinned as friends like the Clarks and Hendersons distanced themselves, unconvinced by her claims. Mark's phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Happy 46th, Dad. Fishing trip next month? He smiled, typing back. You and Ethan better be ready for Alaska. His kids had emerged as his anchors, their trust in him unshaken. Emma, now in her final year at UT Austin, had grilled Laura during the mediation, her pre-law sharpness cutting through excuses. Ethan, back in San Francisco, had reverse-engineered Laura's secret account transactions, confirming her intent to siphon funds. Their loyalty wasn't blind. It was rooted in the truth Mark had carefully laid out. Laura requested a meeting a week ago. No lawyers, just the two of them at a quiet diner near Zilker Park, where they'd celebrated their 15th anniversary years ago. Mark agreed, not out of sentiment, but for closure. He arrived first, taking a booth by the window. Laura walked in, her steps hesitant, her usual confidence dimmed. She slid into the seat across from him, ordering tea instead of her usual wine. Thanks for coming, she said, her voice low. I wasn't sure you would. 20 years deserves a conversation. Mark replied, his tone even. He wasn't here to rehash or accuse. He wanted to understand her reckoning. Laura fidgeted with her cup. The house sold fast. Good neighborhood, good schools. Small talk, a weak attempt to delay the inevitable. Mark waited, letting the silence press her forward. Finally, she met his gaze. I need to know if you can forgive me, Mark. For Ryan, for everything. He considered her words, not rushing to answer. Forgiveness isn't the issue, he said. I've let go of the anger. But trust? That's gone. You planned, lied, built a secret life. I can't forget that. His voice held no malice, just clarity. Laura's shoulders slumped, her eyes glistening. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said. Ryan was freedom, I thought. From routine, from us. You chose freedom over honesty, Mark said. That's the difference. He leaned forward. You're not a villain, Laura. But you made choices, and they have consequences. She nodded, her voice barely audible. Ryan's gone, transferred to Chicago, and I'm alone now. Mark didn't react. Ryan's departure was predictable. A man like that didn't stay for fallout. Laura continued, the kids barely talk to me. Emma's so angry, and Ethan just sends one-word texts. They'll come around, Mark said, not unkindly. But they need time. They saw the truth, same as me. He paused. We're taking a fishing trip to Alaska. They're both coming. It's a start. Laura's eyes softened, a flicker of the mother she'd been. Take care of them, Mark. He nodded, standing to pay the bill. As he walked her to her car, she stopped, her voice breaking. I lost everything. If I could go back, Mark cut her off gently. We can't, and that's okay. We both move forward now. No embraces, no tears, just two people closing a chapter. Back at his lakeside home, Mark prepared for a client meeting, a new project tracing a Texas rancher's lineage back to the Alamo. His phone buzzed again, Ethan this time. Dad, just booked my flight for the trip. You good? Mark replied. Better than ever, son. See you soon. The call ended, and Mark stepped onto the porch, the lake stretching out before him. His brother, David, arrived later, carrying fishing gear and a grin. New place, new life, David said, clapping Mark's shoulder. How's it feel? Like I'm awake, Mark said, his voice steady. They sat, talking about the business, the Alaska trip, and David's retirement plans. What surprised me most, Mark said, wasn't the betrayal. It was finding out I could handle it. Not just survive, thrive. David nodded. Takes a storm to know what holds up. You're built to last. Mark smiled, the weight of the past year lifting. The pain had faded, replaced by perspective. Laura's choices had cost her more than him. Her relationships, her reputation, her narrative. Mark hadn't sought revenge. He'd sought truth, and it had set him free. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mark looked out at the lake, its surface calm but alive with possibility. His life wasn't a second chance or a fresh start. It was the next chapter, written on his terms, grounded in the strength he'd discovered within himself. The archive pain of betrayal was filed away, leaving space for a future he was already building, one truth at a time.